Alright guys, well here I have a 4T65E 4T65E 2006. General Motors or Easy Tags, you know, to identify. The first number is always the year model. We're going to do a basic teardown on this. It was slipping in second gear, and I mean the fluid smells pretty burned up. The first thing that we're gonna do, we're like always, you know, take everything from the outside. This one doesn't have a transmission range sensor here on the outside any longer. The transmission range sensor is on the inside of the transmission. We have our vehicle speed sensor here, our VSS. That's where our front, where our torque converter goes into. Turbine shaft and the pump drive shaft and the stator support. Alright, well, to begin with, we're going to remove the torque converter clutch O-ring here. Remove this O-ring. Take this thing out of the way. Little O-ring. Get that out of the way. We're going to get our hammer and we're just going to tap on this, get it loose. There we go. Get it loose a little bit, and then we're going to get some pliers and hold down the servo cover. This is our reverse servo. Going to remove that now. Just to hold down the cover, then we get a screwdriver, go up underneath the snap ring, go around, take the snap ring out, release the pliers and kind of hold this because it's going to jump out. There we go. Reverse servo cover, reverse servo, and as you can see, the condition of the fluid, it is pretty yellow, kind of looks like thin motor oil. All right, take our vehicle speed sensor off. Kind of twist it a little bit. Sometimes the O-ring gets stuck on the aluminum, just kind of twist it and then it comes out. This one came out fairly easily. And you can see on the speed sensor, it's got it's a magnetic sensor, right? So it's going to have a little bit of a fine metal attached to it, you know, to the speed sensor. Alright, well, whenever you remove the 4T65 from the vehicle, you have a bracket here that goes to the engine. So this there's two bolts here that the R&R guy has it over there by the car, and you have only two bolts installed on the extension housing. So you don't get confused, just mark them, you know, these two bolts, mark an X. So whenever you putting this thing back together, you know that those two bolts go there. Alright, getting a 13mm socket. To 13mm. Tap it. Extension housing comes out. Now this will come all the way out if you take the axle snap ring off. On some 4T60E, this is a 4T65. The differential won't come out because it has a bearing in there, and it won't come out that way, but this one will. Just kind of pull on it. There we go. So you wanna take this snap ring out for it to slide out. And here we have planetary gear on the top of the differential. This is our differential here. We have our sun gear, and there are different gear ratios on the sun gear, so you got to pay attention to that. If you need hard parts, I mean, you really need to match up the differential sun gear on it because they're different. Also, the reluctor, they are different. This is a 30 teeth reluctor ring, and there is a 30 on there. I'm not sure the camera's picking this up, but there is a 30 stamp on it. way. So we got our differential removed. Here's the extension housing O-ring. All right, we already removed our torque converter clutch O-ring. If you don't install that, you're not gonna have a torque converter clutch apply. And these studs right here on this model, it looks like they're not used, but on some models you have wiring harnesses going through it, like the Volvo 4T65. You really need the studs where they come out, and we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna mark them on X, and those studs are gonna go back into their same position, 13 millimeters. We're gonna remove all the 13 millimeters around, and then we have 4 Torx 40. This is actually our side cover. There's a mount that goes here on the driver's side of the vehicle. It's a transaxle. I'm going to tilt a little bit this way so you all can see the T40s right here. You got to clean it up. Got to kind of dig in there with the pick, and what I do, I just get my socket and just tap it in, and all that mud is going to compress, and then you can just break it off. You want to make sure that the socket goes in deep enough, because if it doesn't, you're going to strip them, and once they're stripped, you're going to have to use a chisel and chisel them out. Alright, I think they're kind of clean enough. Let's see, this. Tap this in there, tap this other one. These two over here, they look fairly clean, but whenever you see that, just make sure that you kind of clean them the best you can. Okay, so now our side cover can be removed. Just pull up on it. We have one more bolt. I'm going to lay it to the side. There we go. Got one more 13 millimeter bolt. Go ahead and remove that. Alright. And it falls off. As you can see, the color of the fluid looks kind of yellowish, looks like motor oil, and it smells a little bit burnt. That's just overheated fluid. That is the way that the fluid looks when it gets real overheated. Okay, electronics on this unit. We have a pressure switch manifold. This one only has one pressure switch in here. Earlier models have it's a bigger pressure switch manifold, has more switches. This is just a one wire or one switch pressure switch manifold. We have 2 shift solenoids, on-off solenoids. We have our transmission range sensor right here. On the earlier models, it was outside, you know, neutral safety switch. Some of you guys know it by that name. This is our pressure control solenoid. This is our torque converter clutch solenoid. It's a pulse width modulated solenoid. Here we have our input speed sensor or turbine speed sensor, and our temperature sensor down here. So that's basically all the electronics in here. Our fluid pump is right here. Let's go ahead and carefully remove this gasket. This gasket does not come in the kit, so and it's a reusable gasket. So if it comes out in good condition, in good shape, you can reuse this. Otherwise, I mean, it's a $75 gasket, so kind of be careful with it. All right, let's go ahead and disconnect our electrical connectors. And did you see that? They get brittle. The plastic get brittle and it breaks off. So kind of be very, very careful trying to disconnect these things. Now that broken tab here, locking tab, it's okay. It can be reused. This is for a pressure control solenoid, and it goes in kind of snug. Just kind of you know, put a tie down and, you know, affix something to it so that it won't be loose. There's actually no vibrations here. It's not going to become undone. I know there's a lot of fear of some of you guys that think that they're going to become disconnected. They won't. I mean, as you see here, I'm pulling pretty good. There we go. So I mean, this is a fairly tight connection. Or if you want to just get a new internal harness, they are available new. Aftermarket, I think Rostra makes them. You can get OE style temperature sensor, and then it's just attached. This one here is just clipped on. There we go, it's just clipped on. So basically we only have one broken tab. The rest of them, they came out fairly easily. Set that to the side. We have an inverted Torx bolt right here. No big deal. 8mm socket, it comes right out. All right, well, I got my 8mm socket here. It comes right out. There we go. If you want to purchase the socket for that, I mean, you know, go right ahead, but it's not needed. All right, let's go ahead and remove our pump here first. We got two 13mm and the rest of them are 10. Remove our two 10s. Now in earlier models, the paper gasket, the channel plate gasket, that's what they're called. These two bolts sometimes would be loose from factory, and or not torqued properly, and they had a paper gasket. And on the they still make them with paper gaskets. You tear down one of these units and it still has paper gasket, but there's a updated channel plate gasket that it's metallic. And what used to happen is that the gasket would rip and it would leak out of the breather. You know, it was spraying fluid all over here, and then it would just, I mean, just gush out of the breather, and the breather's right here. I mean, if you can see that, that's our breather. All right, let's go ahead and remove our pump. This is a vane type pump, vane type. As you can see there, the vanes, you know, like our 4L60E. I got a 4L60E teardown and rebuild videos. I got both of them, the teardown and the rebuild. And I mean, you can see the vanes. It's got a rotor in there and it's got vanes. This is pressed together. I'm going to take it apart, but not now. Let's go ahead and just dig into the inside of the barrel of the case and start getting everything out, and check out, see what actually is burned on this unit. Get this thing out of the way. Pump bolts over there. Pump right here. Okay, so we got two T30 or Torx T30s here. We'll remove these 2 bolts here to take the valve body off. You don't have to remove the pressure switch manifold if you don't want to, but we're going to remove it so you can take a look at it. So basically these 2 bolts are attached to the channel plate. They go through the valve body, and this bolt right here, it's attached to the valve body, and it's a hold down bolt for the pressure switch manifold. And it's just a pressure switch here. Fluid pressure goes out through that hole, and pressure goes in, compresses that switch, and it closes that switch. Some of them are normally open, some of them are normally closed. We'll get our voltmeter and see which one this is, normally open or normally closed. Alright, since I got my 8mm socket, I already got this removed. Get that one. Let's get our 10. Let's get our T30. Alright. One more 10 and a 13. This 13mm bolt right here, make sure that it is tight. This one goes all the way to the center support, and if it's loose, it's going to be separated from the channel plate, and it's going to leak fluid. It's going to probably not have second gear. It's going to have missing gears. Alright, 113, inverted Torx. Get all our 10s, the 2 Torx, and the other 8. Alright, there's 4 check bolts on the channel plate. Kind of, when you remove this, kind of hold the separator plate with the valve body. Kind of wiggle it. And this should come right off. There we go. Check ball fell off. 2 check balls fell off. We have a guide pin right here. This one goes here in that position. Let me pick up this 2 check balls. It's got 4 check balls. One goes here, one goes here, one goes there, and one goes here. 1, 2, 3, 4 check balls. We got this guide pin. Let's go ahead and get them out. 4 check balls. Our pump drive shaft. This end goes into the torque converter, and this end goes into our pump. This one has a molded separator plate. You can see the brown right here. The gasket is molded into the plate. It can be reused as it is, or you can get a new separator plate. Sometimes the check balls will eat the plate up, and they will cross from one side to the other. Very common on Volvos. Volvos have the same thing, molded separator plate, and they do have that problem. So it's best, to just go ahead and replace it. Let's go ahead and just lift it up. It has 2 tabs here that hold down the plate, plastic. Go ahead and remove those. You don't want to lose them. You have 2 screens, 2 little thimble screens, one here, one here. Those screens are for the shift solenoids. Shift solenoid screens. We got more check balls here in the valve body. We have 2 large check balls, 1 and 2. And we got 1, 2, 3, we got 4 regular size check balls. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the 2 big ones. Oops, there we go. Attaboy. Put them with the rest of them. You can use a magnet. I know that in theory, if you use a magnet, the check balls will become magnetized and all that stuff. But they work under pressure. They're always working, so it really doesn't really matter if you grab a magnet to pick up the check balls. Nothing happens to them. The fluid pressure will always overcome. If they get magnetized, it's going to be very little. And that molded spacer plate, I mean, it's not really like the old ones that it was made out of steel. But I have never seen anything, issues by using a magnet to remove the check balls, ever. So it is safe to use them. Okay, I see that I have a valve completely stroked on the on position, which is this one here. We'll tear down the whole unit, and we'll come back to this valve. Sometimes they get real wore out and the anodization of the valve falls off, and when that happens, valve body needs to be replaced. This thing out of the way. Alright, so we got our channel plate here. If you want to remove this bolt, you can. If not, it's okay as well. We're going to remove it so that you can see how the manual valve is attached to the linkage. So we have our D10 roller here. That's a little roller, and this is what clicks, click, 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 click when you go into through the gears. Now there is a little cage wire here on the manual valve. Let me get the transmission closer. I don't want to zoom in on the camera and zoom out. I mean, look at my hands. So I'd rather just get the transmission closer to you. So you get the spring back, down, and out. And there we go. We have our manual valve detached. And this one you just pull up and it comes off like that. Don't forget to install this, because it depends on where it's going to be. The manual valve is going to be stuck. It's probably going to be forward only, or maybe it's not going to move at all. You're going to go through the gears and nothing will be there. Just be careful. Alright, transmission range sensor. Manual valve wants to come out. Let's go ahead and remove our channel plate here. There is a Torx down here. Let's go ahead and take the Torx out first. Right here. Torx 30. Get that out of the way. Let's get our 8mm off. Got one here. Got another one right here. One here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, 4 8s. Get our 10mm. Now, these 3 bolts right here, sometimes they are very, very, very tight. If you go with your impact, it doesn't want to come out, get your, you got to beat it out. You got to make sure that they become loose. That was good. That was easy. Always try to use your best socket for these 3 bolts. The other ones, it doesn't really matter. They come out easy. Alright. Get your screwdriver and just kind of start prying. Start prying and start praying. Alright. Go ahead and take our manual valve and just take it completely out of the channel plate. Don't want to damage that. Okay, so the first frictions that you're going to see here underneath the channel plate are the 4th clutch. It's 2 clutches. Now this steel, see the discoloration? That is normal. All this around, that is the way this steel looks like. This is not normal. This little heat mark right here, that's a heat mark. But they are, they look kind of funky looking, but that's the way they are. That's the way they are made. So these steels are good. The frictions, they look kind of a good shape. Really. Yeah, they look in good shape. All right, we have our an accumulator down here. Let's see if I can get this thing out. Accumulator housing O-ring. There's an accumulator here. Accumulator pin. You want to make sure you get it out, remove it. Sometimes the accumulator springs break. You want to get them out, and there's one inside the other. They go here. This accumulators wear out, so get your pin and kind of wiggle it sideways and make sure it doesn't have any play. This one looks in good shape. It feels good. It's not wobbly. If it is wobbly, then you need to replace it. Get out of the way. This is our channel plate. Now right here, you got to inspect this sleeve. That sleeve right here is available separately. Two O-rings. They work here. Sometimes the bearing wears out and it digs the grooves into the sleeve. So if that happens, if that has happened, this is available separately, so you can replace just this sleeve here, you know, on the channel plate. We have two guide pins here, or dowel pins. Remove them. Turbine speed sensor, and we have a valve here which is very, very critical. Trouble code P1811. Transmission adapts maximum shift. I can't remember what's exactly the name of it. It detects excessive apply, you know, time for apply, and on the actuators are the solenoids. You got the pressure control solenoid. This valve wears out. There's an updated valve, and we're going to put an updated valve here. Actuator feet limit valve. This is our reluctor for our turbine speed sensor, or input speed sensor. This washer, these two washers here go on the channel plate. As you see here, one's Teflon coated and the other one's plastic. Get our reluctor ring. Now the chain. There's a lot of ways you can check for the chain wear. These chains are no good. They're almost touching here. I mean, that's one way I check them. You know, sometimes they will be nice and tight. These chains are worn out. They're touching right here. These chains have to be replaced. This is the overdrive clutch hub. Another washer there. Now this one is an updated overdrive clutch hub. This one is heat treated at the splines here. Earlier models, they had a tendency for the splines to strip, and you would have first, second, and third, and no overdrive. If you had no overdrive, more than likely the splines were stripped. I believe it was 2003. I'm not exactly sure when they went with an updated overdrive clutch hub. This is available separately if you're working on a 98, 99. That has the earlier style. It's white. It doesn't look black like this, and they do strip. So change them. This is an updated one. This is in good shape. This can be reused. Get that out of the way. All right, let's go ahead and remove our chains and our sprockets. Kind of wiggle it. It should come out. There's another washer down here. Got two oil dam deflectors here. This is considered, I know there are two chains, but this is considered one chain. When you buy the chain for the 4065, both of them come in the same bag. This is considered one assembly, both of them. Earlier models, 4060s, it's a single chain, and they changed it for a double chain because other than they are quieter, they last longer. I mean, you have two chains instead of one. Alright, go ahead and get our drive sprocket here. That's our drive sprocket support on the inside, and on the other side is the stator support for your torque converter. There's another washer inside here. plastic washer. You got 2 sealing rings here. Whenever this bearing here wears out, it digs into that sleeve that I was talking to you about on the channel plate. Now there are different setups for sprockets here. This is the drive sprocket and this is the drive and driven. 35 and 35 is the most common, but you have one that's supercharged, and I mean, they do change. So if something of those went out, this bearing goes out, it actually damages the sprocket support from the inside. So if that has happened, then you need to get new ones, and you want to make sure that you count the teeth on it and get the correct one. Let's go ahead and get this. This is the piston housing for 4th clutch on the top. You have 2 sealing rings here for 2nd clutch, and then you have the 1st and 3rd in here on the input drum. That 13mm bolt that I was talking to you about goes right here. If you don't tighten it up, you're going to have a leak here. One for lubrication, one for 2nd clutch, and the other one is for the other drum. We have another Teflon coated washer. This washer is no good. As you can see, the marks on it, and it looks like golden. I mean, you can see the golden metal already on there. So this needs to be replaced. We have our reverse band, and this type of material, it looks green. It's very dark green. They call them high energy friction lining. That's what that is. This is our reverse band. Wraps around the 2nd clutch drum. 2nd clutch. Another issue here for 1811. There's 2 washers here. Need to get them out. There's 2 washers in the back of the drum. 1 thrust and 1 bearing. 2nd clutch. This is very common. This is another issue for the 1811 maximum adapt and long shift detected. I think that's what it says on the trouble code. If you can see that, that's excessive clearance. That's a lot of clearance. We got to fix that. We got to fix that. There are selectable steels for this. You can put 2 thick ones, and then the rest of them OE size, and you get your clutch clearance perfectly. Let's go ahead and inspect these frictions. Sometimes you will see them in good shape, like that. See that friction? It looks good, but it looks could be deceiving. Not because it looks nice and red like that, that means that it's good. If you saw the clearance on it, I mean, they are worn out. You got 6 clutch packs here, and rule of thumb, is 10 thousandths of an inch per clutch. You got 6 clutches. That is what, 60 thousandths of an inch clearance, and I believe that was more, way more than 60 thousandths of an inch. Go ahead and get our 2nd clutch drum. 2nd clutch over there. Inside there's a molded piston. I suggest you get the molded piston as well and replace the molded piston on 2nd clutch. They do become hard, and they shrink, and they leak fluid, and you would have like no 1-2 upshift. Go ahead and check our other frictions. The fluid is pretty bad. The transmission was slipping. We see these are different color, but they look in good shape. You can see a little bit of black. Is the camera picking it up? Probably is. I'm not sure. And then we have some single-sided frictions here. Same thing here. Although they are a little dark, actually. I mean, It's just the age, but they're not burnt up. These come in the kit as an assembly like that. There are internal and external. This internal and external because this one has internal teeth. The teeth are on the inside, and these have the teeth on the outside. External, internal. They come in the overhaul kit. You don't have to worry about that. Reverse reaction shell. We have 2 sprags here, forward and third. They're ratchet type. I don't know if you can hear that. Bottom one as well. They do become damaged. You cannot open them, they're riveted, but you can separate them like that. We have 1 planetary gear here from Planet. Always check your wiggle them, you know, side to side. Make sure that they have no play. This one is in good shape. It's very rare that you see this Planet here damaged. The one that does get damaged is this one here, very frequently. I'm going to show you one thing right here. If you look at it, on the bottom, you can see a brass washer, and then you can see a metal washer. You have 2 washers. On top here, the brass washer is gone. All you got is just the metal washer. On this one here, you can see the brass washer. On the bottom one as well, you can see both of them. And you go all the way around, and this is the only one that's missing the brass washer. There is a washer. There are washers for this thing. You just take the pin out, replace the washers, and put the pin back in, and kind of tack weld it, you know, so that the pins won't walk out on you. You can fix that, or you can get a new Planet. Another bearing. We have a one-way clutch here, one-way roller. If you look at this bushing, see how shiny that is? It's worn out. One-way clutch. This is where the forward band clamps onto. This is where the low intermediate clamps onto. If you have this assembly holding it like this, it turns counterclockwise and it locks to the clock. Now there is a noise that one-way roller clutches make. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. That is considered normal. 2 bands down here. The low intermediate band, it looks like a little baby 480 band or 400 band. And we got our forward band here as well. You see the material, it's green, it's high energy. These bands are prone for breaking right here. Whenever the band breaks from here, at the apply point where the servo applies the band, you will have no forward engagement at all. I mean, you can probably put it in manual low or manual first or manual second, and it will probably try to move, but whenever that happens, this band already snapped. Alright, so we got our differential planetary carrier in there. Let's go ahead and get a long screwdriver. Alright, the hose got caught on the tripod. So there you go. You see the snap ring down there? We take that snap ring out. Remove the snap ring. And it will not come out. I haven't taken the pan off yet. There is a lubrication pipe that goes into it. Let's go ahead and take that off. Forgot about that. Let's go ahead and take the pan off. Here's our pan. If you look at the condition of the pan, it kind of looks in, you know, somewhat okay shape. You have a little bit of a normal wear and tear on the magnet. You can see some converter clutch material here around where the filter goes, filter area goes. The filter, it's on the bucket underneath the car. Filter goes here. This is what I was talking about right here. This is lubrication. If this happens to pop out from here or from here, your planets are gonna get wiped out. No lubrication. Right. Sonex makes a bracket, a hold down bracket that goes in between those two pipes, and it holds them down so it won't come out, so you won't have that issue. Alright, 310s there on the low intermediate. Go ahead and take the ones around right here, and that would remove our accumulator housing. 8 millimeters. Go ahead and get this thing out. The good thing about this here on the accumulator housing is that it is marked. That's the 1-2 accumulator, and that's a 2-3 accumulator. There is a seal right here. You need to be careful, and whenever you go back with it, you know, you make sure that this seal, it's installed. If it is not installed, it's not, the band is not going to apply. The servo is not going to apply, and it's going to have the same symptom as when the band is broke. Alright, let's go ahead and take this apart and check the accumulators. That's our cover. Multi-gasket, this one comes in the kit. Now, they are marked on this side as well. 2-3 and 1-2. See that? The 2-3 accumulator takes the thicker or the heavier spring. The 1-2 accumulator takes the smaller spring. Same thing with this accumulators. Do the wiggle test. This one feels pretty good. Wiggle test on this one. That feels pretty good as well. They are available separately. You can get this all 3 accumulators. You can actually get all 3 of them. I mean, I always put all 3 of them, knowing that they do wear out. And it depends on the warranty that you're going to give your customer. It is very important that outlives the warranty period. There we go. Alright, so now this comes out. Here's our parking pole. And our parking gear goes on top of the differential. There's one more bearing here. Now our case is empty. We got the forward servo here. Forward servo. There's some updated lip seals for the forward and reverse servos. As you can see here, the lip's kind of short. The updated lip seal, it's got the longer lip. Sometimes with wear, the lip kind of rolls, this type of lip. I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this, take this to the foot press. I'm going to go ahead and take these pistons out. I need to show you the forward piston. Sometimes it wears out and it needs to be replaced. sometimes the lip seal, the inner lip seal gets cut. And if it does get cut, there is actually an updated one that comes on the shift kit. Transgo, by the way. It's like a it's a leaf cut seal, actually, in the shape of a D instead of a lip seal. And it works fairly well. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put you on pause. I'm going to go to the foot press and disassemble this drum. Okay, I got everything out of the drum. Here at the bottom, it takes a lip seal. I already took it out. And then it takes another lip seal up here. I have already removed that as well. This is the lip seal that goes on the forward drum. It's a short lip. The new one comes with the longer lip. And this lip here, it rolls sometimes and you will have no forward engagement. Sometimes the piston will wear out and it would tear the lip on this lip seal. Same thing with this. The updated one that comes in the kit has a longer lip. As you can see that the lip is real small, real short. It's just plain wore out. I mean, short lip as well. Now the problem here, let me go ahead and just wipe this thing off a little bit. The issue on some units, the piston wear, so you gotta kind of see how shiny this is right here. Now, I don't know if the camera is picking that up, but there's a little line, but there is no groove. There's a shadow there that looks like wear. So you got to go all the way around and check it. And this piston looks in good shape. This is reusable. Sometimes you will see on one side, and you can feel it with your fingernails. If you can feel it with your fingernails, the piston is no good and it needs to be replaced. Here's the molded piston. This piston comes in the kit. If you order the kit with molded pistons, there's two molded pistons in this unit. This here and the one for second clutch. Second clutch is a must to install, so it's best just to get the overhaul kit with molded pistons. Alright, 1465 basic teardown on this unit. And I mentioned I was going to show you something on the valve body. I'm going to go ahead and put you on pause, get that valve out, and see what it looks like. Okay, so we determined that the valve that's in here, there's two valves here. The valve that's in here, it's in the stroke position, it's all the way in. We have a clip here that we need to remove. This one, I'm going to grab it with my vice grips, and sometimes it's a pain to get out. So I hope that for the video we will be successful. If I'm struggling, I'm going to go ahead and pause it and get the thing out so we don't waste a lot of time. And then when I get it out, we'll come back to it. But hopefully it will come out on video. Alright. Let me get my vice grips on it just to hold it. Kind of like twist it. Ah, there we go. It is going to come out. Success. Sometimes, I mean, you will struggle with that thing for like 20 minutes until it comes out. Alright, let's see if I can get this valve out. There we go. This valve gets hung up fairly easily. Spring goes in first, and then the valve. And you want to inspect that. See how nice and dark gray it is? That's the way that it should be. This valve is in good shape. You can see a little bit of aluminum there. A little bit. But this valve is still good. Just a little hairline scratch right there. But sometimes you would see scratches all the way through, and when you see that, the valve is considered no good. And not only the valve, the inside of the bore as well. Let's go ahead and disassemble this. The same thing happens to this one. It has a clip right here. Let's go ahead and push it from the back side. Push it a little bit. And then get our pick in there. Get the clip out. Okay, we get the end plug out. There's a spring inside the plug. And it will be hung up. And it is hung up. Yep, you can feel it dragging. There we go. Same scenario here. You inspect the valve. If it looks in good shape, it can be reused. Now this is the very common valve lineup that you always have issues with it. The valves being that clean, no scratches and all. Run your bench buddies through the bore and they will work. Sometimes on the torque converter clutch, the apply valve on the torque converter clutch, it wears out, especially on this late model units. There is an updated valve from Sonics that has a sealing ring on it. I recommend and I suggest that you guys always install that valve in there that has a sealing ring on it. Otherwise, you would have torque converter clutch codes or no torque converter clutch engagement, and issues with your torque converter clutch. This end plug right here takes an O-ring. Go ahead and take it out. Just so you'll know that you're working on one of these, that O-ring gets replaced. This is our torque converter clutch solenoid, and as you see, this plug here, it has an O-ring and it's flat, so this is no longer good. Put this over here. What I do with the clip right here, and let's get this valve out. You will have issues with lockup as well, torque converter clutch, if that end plug is leaking. Alright, well, this concludes a basic teardown. I mean, there's a lot more that I can go through, but I mean, I think this is fairly enough for this 4T65. It's going to need a bushing kit, overhaul kit. It's going to need the second clutch piston. We need to take care of that. We need the updated valve for here. We need the actuator fit limit valve for the channel plate. Actually, I get that from Superior. Actuator fit limit valve. I get the Sonics valve for this. Pressure control solenoid and torque converter clutch solenoid. Just to make sure that you don't get the 1811 back again. The EPC solenoid, especially the large can, the early type, they do get stuck, and they do give you the 1811 trouble code. That's about it. 2 shift solenoids, and we're in business. Alright guys, well, my name is Hiram. Basic teardown video on a 4T65E. Thank you for watching.